All right, stardate 14043.252. Welcome to the PTMG podcast, where we talk about nerdy, sportsy, and artsy stuff, hopefully in less than an hour. I am Ben Lee, aka Part-Time Movie Guy, and with me is Vanessa Cozini, aka Crazy for Cult.
Hello.
Some quick disclaimers. Once again, this podcast is sponsored by the movie Office Ninja, which I wrote and directed. Check it out on iTunes. This podcast is also an uncensored podcast. So, for example, you may hear naughty words and phrases like bury a Quaker, which is a euphemism for defecate. I don't know how that came to be because I mean, Quakers are just like they're Amish-ish.
Ish. Ish. They don't believe in guns. I know that.
Hmm.
I know to be Quaker is more or less to be like, a pacifist.
Right. So I don't. Yeah. In any case, that just is weird.
That's okay. I've been reading Maze Runner, and they use the word clunker for shit, and it's like, or clunk, and it's like, okay, it's an interesting choice.
It kind of works. It can make that sound, I guess, if it's been a very bad night. Anyway, you have your own phrase.
Yes, my British bad word is cottaging, which is picking up of a gay partner in a public restroom. George Michael is probably the most famous cottager in recent times.
Cottaging? How?
I don't know, but it just sounded so weird that I had to choose it.
Because, yeah, all I think about is, like, cottage cheese, then.
That's exactly where my mind went, cottage cheese, and I'm thinking...
So, like, yeah, that sounds more like defecate or something, because, anyway, because
we'll swap words.
Is grody. But also, last disclaimer, this podcast may contain spoilers. So, for example, in 1945, the conclusion of World War II is the American Allies have won. Huzzah!
Yay! Go USA!
And all of our allies.
Yeah, them too.
Anyway, so, yeah, those are the disclaimers. How was your day, Vanessa?
My day was interesting. My day was well. Yours?
I went to see the doctor about a sore hip, and turns out I have a weak butt.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
I'm a weak ass. There you go. I've said it. So
you are a weak ass.
Yes. So, long story short, the foot bone's connected to the leg bone, which is connected to the knee bone, which is connected to the other leg bone, which is connected.
Are we gonna sing a song?
No. But all those ligaments, basically, because of the way my feet are asymmetric, and because of the way I have my alignment, it messes the foot messes up the knee, which messes up the hip. So I got to do all these like new training exercises to
Please
work on.
tell me you're doing buxercise.
Yep. It's all on the glute. It's all training the glute, so it stabilizes the pelvis, so it stabilizes everything else. Anyway, so I get to say, hey, I'm a weak ass, I guess, or something.
I have pronated hips. My hips stick out instead of forward, which is actually like the perfect way to become a ballerina, apparently. Did not do that. But yeah, because of that, I apparently have a very strong ass.
Nice. Cool. So Vanessa, you recently started up a new podcast.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Oh, it's been so much fun. I've actually had two pretty close together. I did one Thursday, and then I did one Monday. And Stephanie is my co-host, Stephanie Bray, and she's going to be on every other week. And on the off weeks, I'm grabbing random people that I know that I can just be like, you are doing this with me. I did that with Amber, my friend Amber Shots. That's Shots, like that, not like Shatz. She likes to make that clarification. We did Pan's Labyrinth and the Labyrinth. One was great, one was not.
So basically, I remember the very first episode, which was with Stephanie. So Stephanie was with us maybe about a month ago. I forgot what the main topic was.
I think it was about the convention.
Yeah, SDCC. Yeah, you guys talked about Avengers and Losers. So it sounds like you are having your podcast is on a more movie type of
Yeah,
theme. Would that be fair?
that would be fair. But at the same time, I'm also looking to branch out. I mean, right now I'm sticking with movies because it keeps it all kind of, cohesive and whatnot. And I like cult films, or what I consider to be cult 10 years ago. I'm also doing a little bit of TV shows I plan to do next month because there's not enough good werewolf movies that I have to pull from TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a theme going on in the month of October.
Really, werewolves in October. I don't know why that is, but that's an odd month to choose. Um, so yeah, obviously good luck on two timing me on podcasting and
I'm exciting.
yeah. And it is kind of ironic that you've probably talked about movies more in the past month or two on your podcast than mine when I have the word movie in my name. But that's how things go. Yeah. So we're going to try something a little bit different here. There's usually a lot of topics that I want to just kind of hit real quickly, but be disciplined about it so we actually have time to really dive into the main topics that we want. So it's kind of like a lightning round of current events. So it's like lightning current events or something. There should be some sort of wordplay I could do with that.
We need to have a sound effect of lightning. Lightning round.
Or just a ding when we're done. Anyway, so yeah, we're just going to quickly cycle through some stuff that that happened. Yeah. So in sports, week 1 concluded, which is Football Outsiders loves to call it National Jump to Conclusion Week because everyone overreacts.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Vanessa, you were not happy about the Packers, but I'd say they should not panic.
No, they have a great team. They're looking really good, and they actually were picked in a magazine I read recently as the top pick for Super Bowl. I never base anything off the first week. I usually don't even watch the first week because it's when everybody I think it's just nerves. It's just a lot of nerves,
Mm-hmm. For me, the Raiders are blah, and that's, yeah.
For me, the Raiders are always blah.
Hey, how dare you? The also, this actually just came in. The owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, has been sued for sexual harassment or assault. That's, I guess, something to keep track of. As someone posted, this week of NFL just gets suckier and suckier, which we will touch on in a little bit. Meanwhile, in the art world, I guess, Joan Rivers passed away this week. I honestly can't say I, really followed her work that much, but I do remember her on The Muppets, and I thought her bit with Miss Piggy was pretty funny.
Everybody seems to be remembering her at the moment as the dominatrix, or the in Spaceballs. She was this C-3PO styled character in Spaceballs, and that seems to be what everybody's latching on to.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, I've seen it all over Facebook. It's what everybody keeps saying. Rest in peace, dominatrix. It's like, oh, let's not remember her for that. Because that woman did not break the glass ceiling. She punched through it. I mean, that's what I remember Joan Rivers as, is she took no shit. She was great, and she was she called it like it was, and that was her style of comedy, and I really did like that.
Right. All right, and in nerdy stuff, this just came in also. Microsoft might be buying Minecraft, the game. So I don't follow Minecraft, but that will be interesting.
One
Um,
quick thing to say,
mhm.
Minecraft has a movie coming out.
Oh,
Why?
well, because everything has to have a movie. Anything related to toys has to have a movie.
It's the only way to sell, apparently.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I guess that kind of concludes our lightning current events. So again, to keep things talking about all three things nerdy, sportsy, and artsy. Two of the minor topics we wanted to touch on in sports, as I mentioned, the NFL week has gotten a little bit crappier. So the Ray Rice saga just got a little bit more muddier. Vanessa, I don't know if you've heard about this, but now TMZ actually leaked footage of Ray Rice actually punching out his then fiance in the elevator.
Yeah.
I don't, we don't really need to talk about how deplorable that act really is. Um, and this may be a bigger topic to talk about during, on a more sports-centric episode. But I think the main things I think worth asking are how did the NFL not know about this beforehand when, the podcast I've listened to, they have a very good point. Pretty much every square inch of a casino is always videotaped, is always
Oh,
on camera.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So you definitely have to question, did the NFL cynically try to cover this up, or were they so incompetent that, a billion-dollar business could not get their hands on this? Right before going on air recording this, I did see a crawl that allegedly, according to a spokesperson, this footage was going to be used for a grand jury type of deal, and thus it was illegal to be released to the NFL. So if
If it
that
was
really is true, then that makes things a little bit muddier, because obviously it would have been easy for us to just, if you've listened to the previous episode, we were not very happy with the way the NFL has been conducting itself lately.
if it's part of an investigation, they can't get their hands on it. And if it's part of an investigation and TMZ got their hands on it and released it, that's the worst type of journalism, in my opinion. And this is coming from a person who loves journalism and loves freedom of, speech and freedom of press. I think when you push these issues where you're like illegally or, getting shady, material that you shouldn't be getting your hands on, releasing it, I don't know if they had permission. I mean, that's a violation of privacy in some
It
regards.
is, but the counter argument to that would be this needed to get out because, as we've mentioned before, the original sentence for Ray Rice was a 2-game suspension, which sounded ridiculous at that time, and probably post leak is even more outrageous.
Well, I
Given
heard he
that.
got dropped. Is that true?
Yes. So, but the thing is, and here's where the cynicism comes in is, if you are the head of the NFL, the commissioner, and this, people are not big fans of the new commissioner right now. If you saw that footage, that cannot be a 2-game suspension. So how do you not know? Because this incident happened in February. You're telling me an investigation has taken 6 months that does not require, and that this footage had to be like put on, put on the down low or low down, this whole time is kind of, it doesn't jive with my logic.
Okay. No, I can get that. It
Yeah,
kind of
so I
does with
mean,
mine because I know how certain, procedures work and how hard it is to get certain types of things when the police are involved.
yeah.
So I can see that happening, but at the same time, I can really see them trying to cover their asses and trying to, bury this as far down as they can, and then TMZ leaks it and they have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, get on my, soapbox about the NFL again, but because of if this is really is true that, it really was, it lawfully could not be released, it does kind of murky some aspects of this situation a little bit. But yeah, and I guess the last thing I wanted to touch on is, and probably uh, probably people who understand domestic violence understand like the victim mentality of thinking they can change their man or change the person who's been abusive to them. So to really get angry at the fact that she still married him and is currently still publicly supporting him can be very infuriating. But I mean, this this is kind of what happens to some people.
It is a psychological disorder. Um, your brain chemistry has been changed drastically, and there's a lot of variables involved. We don't know what led her to be in that type of relationship, what he has over her. There's a lot of variables involved, and I will admit, when I was younger, I never understood. I was like, how could a woman let a man do that to her? Because I would never ever let that happen to me. And as I got older, I think I understand better that we can't blame a person for being afraid. I
Yeah,
think that's what it comes down to ultimately.
yeah. All right, so switching on to something hopefully a little bit more cheerier. It's the latest Doctor Who. I guess Vanessa, you've caught up now, where lately they've met Earl of Loxley.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know if you've also caught the previous episode. Did you have any thoughts on either of those episodes?
Yes. I like the previous episode better than this one. Um,
So we're
I,
talking about the one called, I think, Into Darkness,
in,
where
oh, I thought it was into the Dalek.
into okay. Um,
I could
yeah,
be wrong.
maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just because he keeps saying Into Darkness in the promo, so I just keep thinking that's the one. But yeah, I mean, it's basically they turn into they Honey, I Shrunk the Doctor, and they go into the Dalek.
I literally was waiting for a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids moment. I really was.
If it was an American show, they probably would have made that joke.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
I liked it. I liked that, the doctor was inside a Dalek and he was trying to show this Dalek, trying to see if it's possible. If I can turn one Dalek good, I can turn all of them good. And, ultimately, I think the doctor would like to not have to destroy them and would like them not to be evil. So there was a lot of interestingness, and I think what really spoke to me in that episode was when the Dalek looked into the doctor and saw hatred. That for me, I had to pause, and I was like, "Whoa, that's gonna take me a minute to sink in," because I do believe the Doctor hates Daleks. The Doctor hates hatred. The Doctor hates things that he thinks are bad for the universe and the creatures in it. And you can always find hatred. There is nobody in the universe who is perfect enough not to have some type of hatred. And so that was interesting, and the doctor tried so hard to get him to be like, no, no, look past that, you know,
Yeah,
and it wasn't gonna happen. Um, but it was interesting. I
yeah, I
really
mean,
enjoyed it.
yeah. I thought the when the Dalek calls out the Doctor and says you are a good Dalek, it
Oh,
is a pretty awesome heart drop moment. Uh,
right?
and also, the whole speech by the Dalek about watching a star get reborn, I thought it was a pretty awesome speech talking about, that, life somehow endures. Although coming, understanding Star Trek, I kind of wish they could have said something other than resistance is futile, even though it has been like has it been 20 years since First Contact came out, or even I don't know.
It's been no, it's been at least.
Okay, I mean, but granted, the Borg is one of the biggest Star Trek villains of all time. So
But you have to ask yourself, were they influenced by Doctor Who? It's possible.
I guess so. But yeah. So and what were your thoughts on the Robin Hood episode?
This is me hiding, by the way, for those who can't see. This is me trying to hide
Where are you
because
at?
it annoyed me. The
So
whole episode was annoying to me because it was a wish fulfillment episode. It was some kid wanted to see Robin Hood wish fulfillment episode,
hmm
and I felt like they could have gone in more interesting and creative. I don't like an episode where I know what's going to happen, where I can guess everything.
uh-huh.
And that's what this episode was for me. It was very much an episode I'd sit, my nieces and nephews in front of the TV for and go off and, make sandwiches.
Uh-huh. Huh. I mean, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed like it did feel a bit swashbuckling. It felt more jovial than the other two episodes. Um, and the I mean, it was kind of annoying to see the Doctor play so dumb
Yes.
of a character in this case. Clearly it seems like either it's the companion that has to be the buffoon or it's the Doctor that's the buffoon. In this case, I think Clara's character probably got the better stuff. I mean, it was still a lot of fun. It was fun to see the Doctor you know have get into it with Robin Hood, but it got repetitive. But yeah.
I agree with that. It did get very repetitive. A lot of lines were repeated itself. I mean, the Doctor kept saying, "No more laughing. He hates the laughing. He hates the laughing." And I kind of feel like they're trying to shove it down our throats that he's not a happy-go-lucky Doctor.
hmm
Get that? It felt a lot of this season has felt like the writers are kind of trying to force you to see something you already see.
Yeah, and also it's also the same thing with the whole theme of like we clearly know that weird lady in
And the
heaven
Promised Land.
is going to be at the very end.
Yeah.
And having robots being lost, like the whole Promised Land thing, it does feel like it probably could have been spread out a little bit more. We don't know the pacing of the rest of the episodes, but as of
Yeah.
right now, they probably could have diluted some of that.
Yes. I prefer Easter eggs to full on, ooh, look, we're going to have a Promised Land. Ooh, look, here's Missy. Here's Missy. It's like I was actually a little surprised when I didn't see her at the end of the episode because it
Right.
seems to be a trend. Um, and yeah, when he saw, oh, the Promised Land again, it's like, you guys could be less obvious. You
Mhm.
have a smart fan base. You have a smart fandom.
Yeah.
Respect
Yeah. Cool. Well, speaking of fandom, although this is not exactly well, yeah, I guess our main topic is, I guess, fandom in general. It kind of started with talking about you wanted to talk about something called queer baiting that I had never really heard of, but also at the same time, and I'm just going to try to like massage this in and we'll see how this goes. Is recently in the past couple weeks, along with all some of the nuttiness happening. What's going on on the internet has been kind of fascinating once you get past the emotional stuff, which is you have the female celebrities in general having their iClouds hacked, but it's probably lots of other people being hacked. It's just naturally the celebrity pictures are the ones that have been released on Reddit, and now Reddit actually had to shut down one of their subreddits. because of the bad PR. At the same time, we've talked about Anita Sarkeesian being, literally threatened to the point of fearing for her life. And then the backlash upon that, where some of the gamer communities tried to rally and support her. But also turns out it was also in supporting of this lady named Zoe. Crap, I forgot her last name. Basically, so this is the ironic thing. She was an independent game designer who wrote a game about dealing with depression. It was a text-based game. I forgot the name of it.
Okay.
And it like for an example of how it kind of did it was you're stuck in a situation, so you have choices A, B, C, D, and
Okay.
all the good ones are grayed out, basically. So it's almost, it tries to get in the head and tries to illuminate to other people this is what depression might feel like to somebody suffering from it.
That's perfect because there's so many people that do not understand that it's not a choice for us. We don't get to choose to be happy. And I do kind of say us because I do suffer from some depression and bipolar disorder. And yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of interesting awareness about it, and I think that would be amazing because I would make my family members play that game
Hmm.
so they can shut up.
So it's really weird because obviously this game got a lot of attention after Robin Williams' suicide, because then depression became a talk. But unfortunately for her personal life, what happened then was she started being attacked by internet trolls, and more importantly, an ex started throwing out some really, really basically character assassinations about her sexual exploits, basically. So all this just kind of, this is like a whole thing about the internet and misogyny and how we, this whole general, like, is it just a bunch of like 12-year-old boys who just don't know any better, or are these like legitimately your next door neighbor who has a dark side that is following this mob mentality? Anyway, somehow we thought that would kind of fit into the
Well,
idea of fandom.
well, what I want to talk about a little bit with fandom does have a lot to do with the internet because fandom, what it was 10 years ago, is completely different from what it is today. And
And
so
it's
the internet
different
plays a huge
20
part.
years ago as
20
well.
years ago, yeah,
Because
even
10 years ago, I mean, I hate to butt in, but like, instead of what we have right now, we did have some online interactions, mainly through like used groups and stuff like that. It was like a completely different animal from what it is today.
oh, absolutely, yeah. 10 years ago it was different. 20 years ago it was a completely different creature. And before that, I mean, I think you can find a way to see fandom all the way back in history if you really want to think about it. I think Christianity can be considered a fandom in some ways.
Hmm.
So, yeah, what it is today, it has so much to do with the internet and what the internet has become. Because I'm fairly certain if you talk to Bill Gates, this is not his intent. Was it Bill Gates that invented the internet? I think I
No.
remember.
He helped propagate it, but
Yeah.
this dude named, oh, I should know because I work in computers, but it's like Berners-Lee something. He's considered one of the godfathers of the internet. He does some TED
That's,
Talks every once in a while. That's really fascinating.
that sounds so mafia. The godfathers of the internet.
Maybe just founding fathers. I don't know. I don't know why I say godfathers, but
No, I like it. Let's go with it. It's cool.
sure.
But
um,
yeah, fandom is completely different. It's due to the internet. That's why I feel talking about internet trolls and also talking about queer baiting kind of goes into talking about sexism in a way. Sexism and homophobia are
okay,
kind of sisters
right, right.
in a
So
really messed up way.
okay, so did you want to talk about the troll type of stuff first, or did you want to jump over to queer baiting?
Let's jump over to queer baiting, and I know my end to talk about trolls. It'll be great.
Okay.
Queer baiting. For those who don't know, the
Like me.
urban. Hmm?
Yes, like me, I don't know what that is.
Okay. I actually typed it in one day just to see what would happen, and I did get an Urban Dictionary definition, and it's kind of hilarious. Um, because it talks about Supernatural, which is probably the most saturated show for queerbaiting. So, queerbaiting, when people in media, usually television slash movies, add homoerotic tension between two characters to attract a more liberal and queer viewers with the indication of them not ever getting together in the real canon. So, and then as Urban Dictionary always does, it gives you a little, for instance, here's how to use it in a sentence. Hey, did you watch the new Supernatural episode last night? Nah, all that queer baiting makes me want to bash my head in. I quit watching Sherlock for that reason too.
So,
So, two shows that heavily queer bait. Sherlock. Sherlock does it to a point to where they actually Stephen Moffat admitted that it is a love story between John and Sherlock. They're just not gay.
okay. So, like, basically, so what you're saying is the show writers are intentionally adding some, like, homoerotic
Subtext.
subtext. So how is this different than, say, like how I guess a kind of example for our generation would be Mulder and Scully. There's always this sexual
Will they?
tension
Won't they?
between those two characters. How is that different? Is that just hetero baiting, or do you feel like there's a difference?
There is a difference. One of them is the fact that Mulder and Scully did eventually get together. The will they or won't they relationship was a main focus of the show because it had a real true, you know, it could happen. That's the point. When you have two characters where the show won't put them together till the very end because if you get them together, the show tanks. Um, it's actually there's a word for it. I think it's called moonlighting.
Yeah.
Because the show Moonlight did that.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if the main characters get together, people aren't as interested anymore. So they keep this will they, won't they, back and forth. For me, I don't like the formula, but I'm the only one apparently. I don't know. But anyway, the main difference is that they do a will they, won't they for couples that they do maybe have the intention more than likely of them getting together. When they do it with two guys who are straight, they have no intention whatsoever of those two characters getting together. To the point to where they even tell the fans there's no way in hell this will ever happen.
Okay,
And
so basically, if Mulder and Scully, I don't know which one is the Coveney. I'm sorry, I have not seen X-Files. Sorry, but
Mulder's the
basically,
guy,
it
Scully's the girl.
okay. So if Scully was lesbian and if
Hmm.
Mulder was identified as gay, and then they tried to do sexual tension, that would be a little
Yeah,
bit closer to queer baiting.
yeah, yeah. If you had two if you had a lesbian woman and a gay man and you were going on like, ooh, will they, won't they? People would be like, dude, that's fucked up.
Okay, so
Because, yeah, for a multitude of reasons. The big issue is Supernatural kind of, I don't want to say started it, they didn't start it, but they're the most prolific ones, and that's why they're the most targeted, because they kind of never give up on it, even though it actually got to a point to where you cannot ask um, Destiel or Wincest related questions at conventions. You cannot ask the actors any questions about male relationships
uh-huh.
romantically because they get nothing but that for a long time and it's made them uncomfortable. And I grant that it's made them uncomfortable, but it's the show's fault. They opened up a Pandora's box and they just kept it open. That was the problem.
Hmm.
Originally, you didn't have Castiel. You only had Sam and Dean. And they made all these little jokes about them being gay even though they were brothers. Which is kind of weird. From a writer's perspective, choosing to go that route is interesting to me because I get when fandom does it, but when TV does it, it confuses me more
Okay.
because hmm?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You could go ahead.
Yeah, so they made cute little jokes about, oh, you and your lover, and it's like, no, 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 that's my brother. No, no. And they kept making that joke a lot, and it was kind of cute because you knew, obviously, these two brothers were not going to become an incestual relationship, and you were just laughing at the cute little joke. And yeah, there was a fandom for wanting Wincest, and every it's the rules of the internet. There, Rule 34, there is porn of it. Rule 35, if there's not porn of it, porn will be made of it. That is the end of that discussion. So
Right. So, I mean, I guess there could have been gay incest if there was a gay duo in Game of Thrones, but that's a whole different joke. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned talking about fandom. So my question is, we know, especially with any kind of cult favorite type of movies or media, on the internet, there's ever, for probably the last 20 years, and obviously people that before that, people have writing them in private, fan fiction, especially sexually charged fan fiction. They apparently now it's the kids call it slash. So
slash, yeah.
yeah,
It's kind of I'm just gonna school you just a little bit. It's kind of inappropriate to say the kids because that started a long time ago. I remember, yeah, I'm gonna out myself. I remember reading slash fiction when it was Draco and Harry, when it was just the books.
yeah. I mean, I just didn't know it was called slash.
Yeah.
I thought it was always called fan fiction. That's what I've always called it. Uh,
Slash is specifically for gay on gay pairing.
okay, yeah, because I think for me, because following anime, there's actually a Japanese word for it, which I am going to horribly mispronounce, is
Why?
yayo or
Yeah,
what?
yaoi, yaoi. I got it. It's
Yaoi.
yaoi.
Yeah, yayo is something
Wrong
you
how readily I know
in
this.
the ghetto, but yeah. Well, yeah. So I've always kind of identified that as yaoi. I didn't realize slash was a specific subset of fan fiction. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So with the popularity ish of slash, do you feel like, in your opinion, and we can't be in the heads of the writers, but it's kind of a chicken and the egg question: is
What came
did
first?
did the writers intentionally start creating more queer baiting because of the slash that they're aware of, or did they kind of do it on their own and it just happens to be that I just assumed that the slash is causing the queer baiting?
It can go both ways. On Supernatural, I really truly do believe they started it and fandom caught on. And it rolled into this ball of mess that it is today where they can't go a season without these subtexts and these cute little scenes where they do like, oh, Sam or not, Dean and Castiel, do this thing and they end up on top of each other, something. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just a ball of wax that I would never touch. If I was ever asked to write on a show, which would be my dream, I would probably say no because I would just be a little afraid to go into the writer's room of Supernatural to see what they really say. But on some shows, I do believe with the chicken and the egg, like, for example, Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf is huge. It is probably the third largest fandom for a slash pairing, which is Steric, which is Styles and Derek. Um, the season one, they started it, and they just, kind of cute little scenes where they'd both be paralyzed but kind of half on top of each other, and it was cute. I don't think they really meant it to be as homoerotic as it came off. But then they really went into it when the fandom caught on and was like, oh, we really like this. We really like this pairing. And they're like, oh, we have a fandom for that. Let's pander to them. I think the biggest mistake you could ever make as a showrunner, as a writer, anything, is fan service. Nobody likes fan service. I mean, you watch a lot of anime. Do you watch Naruto?
Well, I used to. That's the thing. I haven't. I watched like the first arc of Naruto Shippuden, but
Oh, okay. But did you watch the original show?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I maybe have seen a little bit of Shippuden, but I mostly go off the original show when I
Okay.
talk about this. Naruto was one of those shows that they called fan service for anime because everything you kind of, fans wanted, it found a way into the show to a point to where people stopped liking it and they had to change their game.
Okay. I don't actually recall this. Can you name some examples?
Off the top of my head, it's going to be difficult because it's been years since
Yeah.
um,
We're talking
I
about something that's like five,
I
10.
know. Fan service anime. I literally type in fan service, and the first thing that comes up is anime. Wow, that's kind of scary.
I mean, the typical, uh, the generic fan service I always hear about, especially in anime, of course, is
Gratuitous titillation.
right. Is just the skirt shots, the cleavage shots. Naruto especially. He in character he will turn into a
That's
naked
right.
blonde lady to make Kakashi, nosebleed, but at the same time, it also serves as fan service from a 12-year-old sexually deprived point of view.
Which
But
is really horrible. So yeah, I mean, anime has always been really bad. I actually was thinking about cosplaying as an anime character recently, and I went, nope, I don't like showing my midriff. I don't like wearing really, really super short things, so I can't dress up as any of my favorite anime characters because all of them wear what I consider the least amount of clothing that's allowed within television or anime.
yeah, and this has always been, and this is like a topic for a different day, is, how female characters are portrayed in anime and manga.
And game.
It's always been an issue for a very, very long time. So yeah, I can understand, your frustrations in trying to cosplay in something that is, for lack of a better word, modest or
Yeah.
normal. Normal. I don't know.
Yeah. I like that. Let's go with normal.
Okay.
Because nobody dresses like that in real life.
Uh,
But yeah, so the fan service with that is a lot to do with the queer baiting because they're pandering. They're
uh-huh.
pandering to a very specific audience. In anime, they're pandering to pubescent boys.
Mhm.
In our pop culture shows, they're pandering to the LGBT. Did
Yep.
I forget an acronym?
Nope.
I always am worried I'm gonna forget an acronym in there.
Yep.
The community, and so there's been so much backlash. One of the things I was gonna point out was Swan Queen. So on the show Once Upon a Time, you have the Evil Queen and Emma Swan. They're two women. They're very powerful, very strong women uh, in different ways, and the fandom for the show, they never in the show's history, do I think, in my personal opinion, did they pander to that audience. It's just something that fans went, ooh, I like the idea of these two people together. That happens. Where it was never hinted at on the show, they didn't queer on the show, but it made news lines when one of the dwarves from the Seven Dwarves, Michael Coleman, an actor who plays Happy, which kind of ironic, he kind of took to Twitter and going, it's funny how rude these Snow Queen fans have become. It's noticed by all cast, Jen and Laura included. It doesn't look good on you. And he just got in a Twitter war throughout the night to where the next day, all the rest of the cast were like, no, we love our fans. We do not agree with him. No, no, no. Yeah, I'll be surprised if he's on the next season. That's how bad the PR went. And they even targeted him. The cast were like, dude, you fucked my day. You fucked PR's day. So, yeah.
Huh.
It's in.
So you feel like that was an instance where, because of the recent culture of queer baiting, it's kind of like the thing where, well, I call it room 237ing it. So room 237 is a documentary about The Shining, and
Oh,
it basically is about all these super fans who are putting a ridiculous amount of connecting the dots of what The Shining means, and it has meant everything from the Trail of Tears to the Holocaust. Or no, the Holocaust is the general one, but there's some really bizarre things. Anyway, so I mean, so it sounds like what you're saying is shows like Supernatural are doing it on purpose, but then sometimes there are certain shows like Once Upon a Time where uh, the audience is kind of doing it using their own imagination and kind of applying that baggage onto those stories, whether they wanted to or not.
yeah. And I've always said, fan fiction is lovely because it's a creative outlet, and it's a way of kind of like, if you did the show, how would you do it? Your own version of it, your own interpretation, your own adaptation. And I actually read a lot of fan fiction. I enjoy fan fiction. And I always find it interesting how people can make what's called AU, which is alternate universe, where it's completely different. I mean, everything from the plot to the characters and their occupations or what have you, but still stay true to who the characters are at their core. That's the trick with AU, is keeping the characters who they are at their core while changing everything else around it. And that's in a way what the slash fiction people do. They change the fact that these characters are not heterosexual. They
Yep.
keep the characters as best they can in character for what they are in the show, while adding a different new layer or interpretation to them. There's nothing wrong with that. However, fandom can become a scary thing. And that takes me to the internet thing, because Tyler Posey, not the smartest of boys. He plays the main character on Teen Wolf. He plays Scott McCall, who's the Teen Wolf. And yeah, sometimes some actors don't know how to best word things or when to not talk, and he's unfortunately fallen into those categories. An interviewer was asking him, Holland Roden, and Tyler Hetchlin. I can never pronounce his name. I love him. He plays Derek. Holland plays Lydia, and Tyler Posey plays Scott. They were asking generally, the three of them, what do you think about Steric? Well, they were really, honestly, going towards the guy that plays Derek to ask the question. But Tyler Posey just jumps in there, kind of takes the microphone a little bit, and he goes, I think Steric is a bizarre, weird, twisted thing. And I think anyone who pays more attention to Steric than the show is watching the show for the wrong reasons. It's and he's like, that's all I gotta say about that. And it was like, even the interviewer was like, oh shit, well, what do I do with this? Because you not only said your fans are watching the show for the wrong reasons, which never tell people they're watching a show for the wrong reasons, but the word choices he used, Steric, is a bizarre, weird, twisted thing. That's got to be the world's worst word choice to use, because for the longest time, the homosexual community has been seen as a bizarre, weird, twisted thing. They're not. And to be told that this fandom is a bizarre, weird, twisted thing, that the idea of these two characters being together are bizarre, weird, twisted, is homophobic in nature. I don't want to say he's homophobic. I'm just saying the comment itself appears to be homophobic in nature.
Right. I mean, because I could totally see in a non-homophobic way that what he meant was the comment on the whole fan. Maybe he's just not a fan of fan fiction, and in some ways he's denigrating that instead of actual homosexuality. I mean, it's clearly a loaded. It was a giant can of worms of grenades and stuff. That
Oh, absolutely. And
I mean.
unfortunately, it escalated to the point to where he got death threats.
Hmm.
I mean, that's where fandom can get a little crazy, is people can escalate quickly. And when you have such a large group that are very passionate, if their passion is pointed in the wrong direction, like hating on another fandom. I've seen fandoms fight. Two different fandoms fighting each other in wars. It astounds me personally. But, like when Jared Padalecki, who plays Sam on Supernatural, was saying, that Justin Bieber is a horrible role model and, was basically, saying something bad about it, all the little believers, am I saying that right?
Yeah. I don't know if they're little though, but go ahead. They're
Yeah,
believers.
there's a huge fan. All started attacking him like crazy. And then all of the Supernatural fans came out and started attacking them, and it was fandom against fandom. And even the actor was like, dude, really?
How did
What?
I miss this? How is this not on Grantland's, gossip call? Anyway, it probably
This
was. I
was
just
a
couldn't
while
believe
back.
gossip
This
call.
was this was a good year ago now.
Oh, okay.
Before Justin decided to leave the business.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Can I just say I was so tired of hearing about him. But
Okay.
yeah,
So, yeah. So clearly, there's as we're kind of winding down here, running out of time again. There's obviously some negative uh, aspects of fandom mixed with the internet. And it's a whole nother conversation of whether fan fiction actually is beneficial to a media, because as a as someone who's created stuff, I would probably I have certain opinions about that. So was there anything else kind of in that vein of queer baiting that you wanted to talk about, or did you want to jump and talk about like when fandom is done right?
well, just two quick things I wanted to say was one, I promote fan fiction. The best form of flattery is mockery or mimicry, one of the two.
Imitation.
Imitation. Thank you.
I don't think mockery is flattering at
No, I
all.
was like, as soon as I said that, I'm like, wait, no, that's wrong. And the second thing was, uh, it's interesting when it's gotten so bad to the point to where your own cast and crew are talking bad about it because Holland Roden, who plays Lydia on Teen Wolf, brain just farted there. Uh, she was in an interview where she was like, yeah, at the beginning of the season there was this kind of like Fox faux lesbian scene, and I didn't really get it, and we don't really need that. And she was saying that about her own show, which I found fascinating, and also yay for her for just kind of saying it's stupid. But yeah, going into internet and trolls and all things horrible is the only way to segue into that.
Okay. So, did one of the last topics you wanted to talk about was fandom being done right.
Oh, yeah, fandom being done right. I'm wearing my brown coat shirt, so you can see that. I love my brown coats.
If I knew
Um,
my Chinese, then I would know what it says up above brown coats, but it probably just says brown coats. But
Probably, yeah. I mean, I love this shirt. But, I mean, sometimes you can get so passionate about something you make change happen. And they did that on Teen Wolf as well with the Stare It campaign, which helped a wolf foundation get land for a wolf sanctuary, which I thought was wonderful. And the one most people recognize is Firefly, because that was such a passionate group of people that they didn't let it die. We got a movie, and we're still asking for things because we're horrible. But that aside, yeah, I mean, fandom is a beautiful thing when done right. It's a passionate group of people, and oop, my phone. Of course.
That's one of the trolls trying to call you right now.
Yep.
It's
It
one of
didn't even tell me
the
who was calling. It was totally a troll.
It was a believer.
It's a believer. Yeah, but I mean, I didn't have too much to say about fandom being done right. Just that, you know, when people are passionate, it can be a beautiful thing. It can turn ugly, but it can turn beautiful.
Uh-huh. I mean, yeah, it's the internet from a social from a social aspect, I think has yet to be matured really. And this is something I've mentioned before, where we can't really say this is what life is like on the internet forever. Like, it's probably going to be completely different in 5 years from now of how we interact with each other, how we treat each other.
We'll all be Cybermen.
Yeah, sure, or we will be deleted.
Assimilate.
All right, now you're crossing the streams.
Hmm?
Yeah, okay, so cool. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of stuff because I haven't watched a lot of television. I'm aware of Supernatural because a lot of people put lots of tumblers up top. And it does look like a very fun show. But,
it is. I really enjoy it.
Right, but it's interesting that there's an aspect where, it can be annoying to some people, where it gets in the way of the storytelling, basically. So, I guess I learned something today about queer baiting.
Did you want to talk any more about the internet trolls and the celebrity iCloud hack?
I'm not really. I think like wiser people have already talked a lot about it. It's because the internet is a weird place where because it would be a whole different topic, like where did trolls come from? How and like I mentioned, the whole aspect that it could be your neighbor that's saying the most vile stuff.
That terrifies me.
Is a fascinating sociological thingamajig.
Yeah, that does absolutely terrify me. There's such an anonymity online that it gives you a power, and that can be good and that can be very, very bad.
Yeah, and it was also just like, our brains were not really wired to interact this way, possibly, and so there's certain things that needs to be reorganized, to be readjusted, to be self-policed, to be a lot of our lawmakers are way behind in terms of certain aspects of how the internet impacts our lives. And then there's the whole issue of privacy, the whole issue of what is secure. Both of those things I think play a big part in the recent, celebrity iCloud hack issue. And then there's still the whole thing about how the internet at one point probably belonged to, angry young males, kind of like how video games used to, and that kind of played into the whole, like, how Anita Sarkeesian got trolled and stuff like that. It's a pretty big...
I always wonder why it has to be angry young men or angry men. And
well, yeah, I don't know if that's true anymore, and it's impossible to tell right now. But because, I mean, the thing is, like, for example, recent reports state that, the largest demographic of gamers are actually females over 30, I think.
Yeah.
And this, and partly is because we are including mobile games and quote unquote light games as part of games, but they are part of video games. But also in general, it's also a whole generation of people, like our friend Stephanie, who grew up playing tons of video games. So I mean, there's a lot of social stuff that could be touched upon, I guess. that I think probably would be better suited for another day. I mean, frankly, it's yeah, I could say a lot about about the cloud and what's secure and what's not. And frankly, short answer is nothing is secure.
Yeah.
you know.
Anything ever put on any type of electronic device, my dad can be a bit of what do you call it? Conspiracy theorist. And
Hmm.
so he doesn't like signing up contracts for phones because he always is like, oh no, they'll have, information on me. He spent years refusing to join Facebook because he didn't want the government to know things. I mean,
Right, and there's some people who are more worried about Big Brother than Big Business, and there's other people who are worried about the other way around. And there's pros and cons to both of them. But that's, yeah, like I said, that's probably that itself is a whole ginormous episode.
oh yeah.
Probably should be explored another time. But yeah, did you have any final thoughts about any of these, internet slash fandom? I guess is our main topic. I don't know what the hell our topic was, but yeah.
I hope in the future we learn to be passionate without being overly zealous. That's like the best I can hope for fandoms, because I think it's like with everything, even with like religion, you have your Presbyterians and you have your Roman Catholics. Some people are more, I don't want to say more passionate, that would actually be really, really rude to Presbyterians. But some people are more hardcore. Let's go there. Some people are more strict, more, zealous about things.
Did you say zealous with a T? Isn't
Yes, I
it
did.
zealous?
Zealous. I added a T.
All
I
right,
made up a new word.
because I'm zealous. No, I'm zealouser, and then I'm zealous. Yeah,
Zealous. It's
zealous.
like the
This,
bestest.
this. All right, so
New
yeah.
word.
With that, I think we've gone off the deep end. I want to thank my co-host, as usual, Vanessa, for this enlightening talk. And next week, I believe we're going to have my fellow Football Outsiders game charter, Peter Koski, on. We will probably, obviously, the main topic will be sports related.
Yeah.
He is a 49ers fan, so we'll get, after 2 weeks, we'll have some some overreactions from about 3 different teams. So tune in for
And
that.
I will probably scream at one point. No.
And yeah, and so yeah, thanks for listening. Vanessa can be reached at Crazy for Cult. I can be reached at PT Movie Guy on Twitter. Also, so Vanessa, your Crazy for Cult podcast, is the second episode also
Yes.
already released?
Yes, I released it today. Yes, I released it today, which today's Tuesday. For those
Right.
who don't know.
And this podcast gets released on Wednesday, so it got released yesterday, I guess, ish. Anyway, it's already out, so go ahead, check those out.
Yes.
And yeah, so say goodnight, Vanessa.
Good night, Vanessa.
And I'm Ben Lee, and I do not have a sign off.